It's the first day in 27 days without a World Cup game on the schedule. The men's national team lost. What's the fallout from that? And what is next for the American soccer landscape? That and more on Wednesday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kick Around, the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. How's it going? My name's Robert Kerr, local soccer guy, and to my side, radio soccer Jason Davis. There's not a whole lot to talk about today, right? I mean, there's not a lot going on. Was there? Nothing big happened this week?
No, not at all. I mean, we have no World Cup today, so you know how big of a day can it be when there's no World Cup on and people are like, "Oh, what else? What am I gonna do? I have no idea what to do with myself. I'm gonna probably run some errands, I guess, if they make me do stuff like that, normal life stuff." But yeah, no, nothing big, Rob. Just normal stuff.
Normal stuff. I do notice that just now that we're both wearing black today. That probably doesn't mean anything at all either, but welcome on in. It is a bright and sunny morning. Hope everyone's doing just fine. Great to see some members in the house. You want to give them a shout out there, Jason?
Yeah, shout out to everybody who popped up in here today. That is an ultra homeless shoe number one through the door, our guy Jeff of NNVA Newport News. Good morning, ultras, from Fayetteville, North Carolina, where he actually is. Latest city to announce a 20,000 seat soccer specific stadium project. Not bad for a city without a professional team. If you build it, they will come, Jeff. Is that what we should be talking about? Maybe we need to dive into Fayetteville at some point. We got I play French horn. Kate's in the building. Let's see. There's a whole conversation going on. Leandering is here. Armando is here. Dwayne is here. Shrimper Steve, our guy in the UK, is here representing. Tim, what's it like to have a team still alive in the World Cup, Shrimper Steve? Tim McDuff is here. Michael is here. Chris is here. Pilkman is here. Cool Will is here. John Hunt is here. Let's see. I already did Pilkman. Let's see. I got Bill Barrett. I got Sluggo. I got my man Tosa Mario. Buenos dias, Tosa Mario. What's going on? Okay. I think that's everybody for the moment, but I'm sure other ultras will pop in as we move forward.
Yeah, good morning to all. And if you'd like to support the show, it doesn't cost you a darn thing to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, or share the link with your friends or groups, or if you want to get your name on screen and your comments on screen during these live shows, become a member. $3.99 a month gets you, prior to commenting on screen, access to bonus content and access to the Morning Kick Around Discord server, where there's a great and growing community with discussions about local soccer, MLS, USL, and of course, World Cup 2026. Thank you to the Ultras who submitted contributions, gave us background on the countries. One at the beginning, all that time ago, about a month ago, when the World Cup was just getting underway. And tip of the hat to all of you guys popping in here for these live shows. And yeah, Shrimper Steve, loving that performance against Mexico. Definitely a thrilling one, and Mexico going out swinging, which I don't think the Americans did, but we'll get into that into the bulk of the show. Remind you guys that Morning Kick Around's collection of merchandise is on sale now over on the Fourth Wall site. If you are on YouTube right now, you can go to the bottom and click over to the store. And when you go over to Fourth Wall, put in the code on screen for 10% off the Morning Kick Around accoutrement. And you see there the first ever MK Ultra kit. And that second wave of kits, I'm sure, is on its way to you by now, right?
Not yet. No, I haven't had a car for a week and a half, Rob. I mean, you maybe check with me before you put me on blast right there. But no, I have not been able to. Hopefully that's today. I had to drive my wife to work because I don't have transportation. So hopefully that's all happening in the very near future.
What had happened is the story I'm getting here. But just on the other pieces of merchandise, we got t-shirts, we got hoodless sweatshirts, we got various different things, and the Mr. Bob mug as well. So head on over there. And I think once this World Cup wraps up, we'll have some time to design maybe the second line of the MK collection And I think we should do kind of a collaborative thing
Ooh.
as well,
How
like
could
that.
we get a ball? I mean, I don't. Maybe it doesn't need to be a full size ball. Maybe we get a mini ball. Who does mini balls? That would be incredible. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely in the spirit of collaboration on this next run. That would be interesting. I'm curious if Fourth Wall has soccer balls in their
I don't think so,
list
but
of things they
we
can
could
do.
probably source somebody else who could do that for us. Yeah. So and look, we do, and we know people. We got our guy Mark. Maybe he knows where to find a way to get a mini ball done.
You got a ball guy? Who's got a ball guy?
You got a
We
ball
need a
guy. I got a
we
ball
need a
guy.
we
I
need a
got a
ball
kit guy. I don't have a ball guy. I got a book guy. I don't have a good car guy. Well, I do have a decent car guy. It's a part situation. I don't want to talk about it. Let's move on, Rob.
All right, support the show in any which way you want. Visit the store if you are willing and able. And then keep on following along the American soccer landscape as this World Cup just a piece of the larger picture we cover on this show. And one more shout out to the Ultras. And then if you don't want to contribute via the YouTube, you can go to ko-fi.com/morningkickaround if you'd like to support the show monetarily outside of the YouTubes. But I've delayed long enough. We got to get into it. Let's kick off today's show talking World Cup and the United States men's national team exit coming up next here on Morning Kickaround. So a little old thing happened in American soccer on Monday night. Round of 16, USA 1, Belgium 4. It was always going to be a tough task, but the United States men's national team going out in some form that didn't make anyone proud or happy. They got the country excited. 40 plus million people tuned in for the Americans' worst performance of the World Cup. Unfortunate, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunate that they decided to have a stinker on the worst possible day at the worst possible moment with not something historic on the line. Well, it would have been historic to win 2 knockout games at a World Cup, something the United States has never done. It would have been historic to do this on home soil and reach a quarterfinal and be one of 8 remaining teams in the tournament, and you would have set up a date with Spain. It turns out, we didn't know at the time, but it ended up being Spain, which would have been, again, one of those tentpole moments for bringing people in and getting people excited and all those things. And I'm as disappointed as anybody by the way that the United States men's national team just didn't have that fire in their belly. There was something wrong with the team from the very beginning. They gave up a very good chance that Tielemans couldn't put away within, I think, 2 minutes of the match. It obviously didn't get much better from there because De Ketelaere scored in the 9th minute. And although we had a nice little moment from Malik Tillman when a deflection off a Belgian head ended up in the Belgian net, it never felt like the United States was capable of turning it around and switching from, oh, we're getting bullied, we're scared, we're timid, to actually putting their foot down and making their presence felt the way that they had through the other 4 games of the tournament. I mean, that was the most disappointing part. If we had no reason to expect this result, then that's why it hurts so much, right? That they had done things against Paraguay, Australia, and particularly Bosnia that made you think that they did have the resolve necessary to step up.
Yeah, in that Bosnia game, they showed some gumption, they showed some steel and resilience, and they were in the moment, they were in the game. But yeah, to your point, they never really did from the get-go on Monday night. Outside influences gave a Belgium team that really was already being eulogized before they had a miraculous and a little bit controversial comeback to even get to this game. So between that comeback and the newspaper clippings, the pegboard material given by the controversial Balogun decision, just got them even more fired up and galvanized. You wouldn't say that Belgium was a team with a lot of team spirit before Monday night. They certainly showed some togetherness and some steel, and definitely we're chirping back once the result was kind of in the bag.
Right.
And I don't think that those inside influences definitely didn't help the team any. They were playing within themselves, playing with confidence, a confidence that we were so excited to see. And granted, all the teams they played before, lower ranked teams, and they got that first goal that kind of gave them the platform to play their games. Obviously, that didn't happen. I got to say, there's a lot of fallout, obviously, in the day. This is about 36 hours after this happened. So a lot of people kind of giving their 2 cents on Tuesday after the game. But I got to feel for, if we were going to pick out an individual on the field, you got to feel for Tim Ream, though. We were already, worried about him going into the tournament, or at least I was. But he was dunked on more in that game than I can recall an individual at this level. But it was mostly due to other people's mistakes, putting him into a compromising position, which, led to the images of him being, a big part of those goals that went against the United States. And obviously, the freeze thing that really was the death nail. And then seeing that last goal, actually, what broke my heart the most was John Strong when the turnover happened for that fourth goal to end. Like, you heard the excitement and the life drain out of him. He's like, not another one. And that was just like, all right, this has gone from bad to an embarrassing situation. And to do it on such a stage, because I've had more respectful conversations with people asking me questions about soccer, like non-soccer people asking me, and then not in like a condescending way, like in earnest wanting to know more and why, who does this person play for? Why is this sort of thing this way in the sport? And then those conversations have all led to, why did it look like that? Why were they so bad on Monday? And it's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, look, I don't know. We were talking about this before the show. I did 3 hours of call-in radio immediately after the game, which is always an exhausting thing. I mean, it's first world problems. I'm not complaining about my job, but it is absolutely true that American soccer fans, when something like this happened, have a particular character about them, right? We are sort of incapable. And when I say normal sports fans, I mean insane people. Okay. Sports fans are insane people on some level. And I like,
the root of the word fan is fanatic.
If you care about the Lions or the Red Sox or the Broncos, as I do, or any college football team or basketball team, if you are the type of person who engages in regular conversation about those teams, online, in person, water cooler, that's the famous idea. Obviously, I don't think people stand around a water cooler anymore, but that's the public forum for talking about sports in our minds, is this kind of water cooler idea. And we've moved it online. And if you are very, very, very attached to a team, you're insane. And their success or failure directly impacts your ability to move through the world in it for a given period of time, right? Depends on how deep in it you are, how long that lasts, right? But when your team fails, when you have some expectation, when hope is big, and then they do not deliver and they fail, you take it personally. We're all taking this personally right now. This is not just our team lost. This is, they did this to me. I'm hurting because of what they did. And that causes a reaction that goes beyond just sort of analyzing the result or trying to process the actual events on the field. And again, I spent 3 hours on the radio, and I've thought about this a lot over 20 years of doing this. American soccer fans' first instinct when we lose a soccer match, when 11 individuals plus substitutes fail to win a game against Belgium, where there was, again, some expectation on home soil that they were going to be able to do something big here, isn't to say, oh, man, I can't believe they chose this guy. Why was Serginho Dest so bad? Why couldn't they figure out a way through Belgium? How did they not know Belgium was going to bypass the midfield and play long and create pressure on Richards and Ream? Where was Pochettino? Why didn't he make changes at the water break? All those things would be natural reactions to a loss, right? The way that any fan base responds to a loss. Why did you play that quarterback? Why did you make that play call? I can't believe he dropped that ball, missed that shot, did that thing in the game. But what do American soccer fans do, Rob? When they call me up on the radio, me and Eric Ronaldo, the first thing they say is, we got to fix pay to play. And it's like, yeah, we do. No one's going to say pay to play is a good thing. Certainly at the levels a lot of people have to pay for their kids to be in soccer in America. But what does that have to do with that game? I understand the logic. I do get where people are coming from when they bring it up.
Progression of thought.
But that's not a normal fan response. And here's why. Because we are so invested in the growth of this sport in our country. This whole show exists as a way to chronicle the growth of particularly professional soccer in America, right? Right. Yeah. That's the niche that we have fallen into, that we have found ourselves fascinated by. And our guy Jeff is a perfect example. Jeff in the chat this morning. Fayetteville's going to build a 20,000 seats. 20,000, Jeff?
That's a lot.
Fayetteville's going to build a 20,000 seat stadium, and that's exciting to us. Even if we're not from Fayetteville, even if we don't live anywhere near North Carolina. Why? Why is that exciting to us, Rob? Why does it matter to somebody in Detroit or somebody in California that Fayetteville, North Carolina is going to build a soccer stadium? Why does it matter?
There's other people and other folks that want soccer in their town, and that soccer on whole is growing in this country.
No, it's not because, I'm so happy for the people of Fayetteville. That's not the general stance of the American soccer fan when they hear about something like that. It's because they imagine that stadium and that place helps grow the sport, right? Come back to the growth thing, which then feeds into this idea that, the game will be big enough that I won't have to feel like an outsider in American sports culture, that I will be mainstream. And because I'm mainstream, and if you want to go logically down the path, you can absolutely say, well, one day it helps the men's national team win a World Cup, right? That's ultimate. Like for a lot of us, that's the ultimate idea. That's the top of the mountain. That's the pinnacle. The men's national team. Now, we could obviously talk about why we're not just satisfied with the fact that our women's national team wins things all the time. And that's not enough for us. We also need the men's team to do it to validate us as sports fans, as soccer fans. Right? Again, this is a psychology thing. If you are truly in it for just the idea of spreading soccer because soccer is good, soccer on its own is a good thing. It creates community. It brings ideas of teamwork and physical activity for our young people, right? If this is just that idea, fine. You can sell me on that for some people. But generally speaking, American soccer fans care about pay to play. They care about building soccer stadiums, not just because it directly impacts them and their life in that moment, but because the idea is this thing will grow bigger. And we don't examine why we care so much that it grows bigger.
No.
Does that make any sense? I mean, people just kind of assume that that's a thing that we should want. Okay, but again, think about, I'm not saying you can't want it. You can't, it's not to say that you shouldn't want soccer to grow. I just want people to think about why that matters to them so much, and then how that affects how they relate to the sport as fans. Because this is not just my team lost and it sucks. Because I had that when the Broncos lost in the AFC Championship game. My team lost and it sucked. We lost our quarterback. We're playing in snow. What the hell's going on here? This sucks. And it hurt for days and days and days. But it didn't lead me to this place. I mean, eventually people do start to talk about, well, our coaching staff is this, or our recruitment is, we didn't draft well. Sure. But that's not the same as having my fandom be validated by other people liking my sport. And that's what soccer fans do. We say 42 million people were watching that game on Monday night. And this is, quote unquote, a missed opportunity. Sure. For Fox, for Telemundo, for anybody who makes money in soccer in America, it might be a missed opportunity to your bottom line, to the amount of money you have in your bank account. But why? How is it a missed opportunity for anybody? Like, in the sense that people mean it, what is that? I need more people to watch my sport. That's what that is, right?
Perhaps. I think it could be that. I don't know. Americans want for other people to want it, because I mean, I think
But
American
why?
soccer.
But why?
so
Why?
that more people play it, so that because we don't
Keep going,
necessarily.
keep going, keep going. So more people play it. Why do you need more people to play the sport in America? Millions of people play the sport in America. Why do you need more people? I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not accusing you of anything. I just want people to really think about why they want these things.
Well, because it means a lot to a lot of people. So the Americans that have, soccer in their hearts, so to speak, I guess you want other people to like what you like as well. And
Why?
then and then
Why?
and then so you're looking forward to 4 years for the World Cup, right?
If I
And
like a
if
television show, why does it matter what the ratings are? If I really love a television show, does it
so it
matter? Should it
sticks
matter
so
to
it
me?
sticks around. So it sticks
Okay, do you think
around.
so? Do you think soccer is going to die if we lose the people who were watching that game because they're upset the US stunk up the joint? Is
No,
soccer
but it'll
going to
be a
die?
whole but it'll be a whole lot more fun if it went the other way though.
Again, in what way? Not again, I'm not saying you're wrong. In what way? I'm asking you to tell me why it's important to you.
Why it's important to me that the Americans didn't get embarrassed on Monday. So it's
No, no,
like
no.
you
Why
can
is it important to you that soccer, quote unquote, grow? Why is it
well
important to all of us? What is it?
Uh,
What is it? What is
well,
the
I
end
think
game for us?
I think the whole growth of the game thing is a little bit overblown and a little bit tired now because in 1994 when the World Cup was here, it was the 65th most popular sport in the United States, and now it's in the top 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
And I think
exactly.
that's
Exactly.
that's
But we're
probably
still acting
that's
the same way. But we're still acting the same way. People still call me up and say, pay to play is the problem. After we lost a soccer game with a team populated by players in Champions League situations, we lost that game because pay to play? We lost that game because of pay to play? What are you talking about? We did not lose that game because pay to play exists. What you're saying is you think we are not maximizing our potential as a soccer nation because we have pay to play, which is a fair argument. Absolutely, you can make that argument. But again, why does it matter to you? Be honest with yourself about why it matters to you. Because again, if it's just I want us to win the World Cup, fine. That is a reasonable thing to want, and I will go with you. Yes, I want us to win a World Cup. So if you're then saying 18 steps before we win a World Cup is pay to play model, the pay to play model is a problem. Now again, if you say the pay to play model is a problem because more kids should have access to what? To high level soccer? Because if you got a ball and a piece of grass, you got access to soccer. Nobody's stopping you from playing. The question is, we want our good coaches to be coaching the players who might one day go professional and represent our country on the field in the World Cup to help us win a World Cup. Right?
I mean,
That's just be honest. That's what we're talking about here, right?
a lot of it's a banging the head against the wall because here in the United States, the American soccer system has some obvious flaws that don't follow how the world's game does it with the things like the pay to play and
The
things
world
like
the world also is populated by soccer clubs who exploit kids in order to make the one player that's going to earn them 80 million pounds in the transfer market.
well, I guess that's sport is exploitive in a certain capacity one way or
Should we
another
want that?
because in the United
Should we
States we're
want that?
exploiting parents in their pocketbooks for it.
Oh, yeah, okay. We're exploiting parents who have agency in that situation. And yes, maybe they're being taken advantage of. But those parents, they've already gotten, they've got that money, right? They've got that money to hand. Some of them do. Obviously, the ones who don't, their kids don't play that level of soccer. I admit that that's a problem. I admit that that's a problem. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we should always have pay to play or that kids should be paying thousands of dollars to get access to good coaching. I want that to change. I want us to be honest about why we want that to change. I
Because we
want us
want
to
to
be
celebrate.
honest
I
about it.
think at the end of the day, we wanted to celebrate wins, and so if we are not relying on players that are from all over the world that join the team, so there is more good players. So I think a lot of folks are coming to a realization that I think others have come to a little while ago. So Christian Pulisic. So for those that aren't living and breathing soccer every single day, they're like, oh, the joke. LeBron James of soccer. Christian Pulisic is a fine top level player that can get in on most
Right,
teams
but again,
in Europe, but
we're being greedy
but
about
he
this, right?
but
Because again, we presume America should be winning. Why should America be winning? What is it about this situation that leads us to this place of like what we have isn't good. What I want people to acknowledge is that we have taken big steps, that the soccer is established here, that we have a lot of things we can point to and say, hey, we did that. That's pretty good. That's that there's there is a tendency to be overly negative about American soccer in the aftermath of a loss, which does happen. Teams lose. Teams play poorly. That doesn't mean it's because of pay to play. Doesn't mean because our structures are broken, our national team can't win a game against Brazil. Our structures being broken is a separate issue that we should address. But to take your fandom and twist it into a knot and be extra miserable about it because you imagine this is a referendum on our whole soccer system, to say we haven't grown is ridiculous.
I'm
To
not
say
saying
that we, I know you're not, but this is what I hear. Everything is terrible. It's like, what are you talking about? Everything is terrible. Why do you care about this sport if you're going to view everything as terrible all the time? If you can't acknowledge the successes and the progress, and I know, oh, we didn't make the quarterfinal, and we can only make the round of 16, and this keeps happening. How many countries in the world have made a quarterfinal in the last 5 World Cups? I mean, there's 8 this time around. Guess what? A lot of them are the return figures. They've been in this quarterfinal multiple tournaments in a row. Then you can go back to Costa Rica making a quarterfinal. Again, sports are quirky. It's not to say we shouldn't get better. It's not to say we shouldn't try to get better. Of course we should try to get better. Of course we should do more. Of course we got to figure out why we failed at that hurdle. It's not about examining that loss. It's about this idea that our loss in a national team game in a World Cup is a structural issue. That's wild to me. And that's a kind of, to me, that's a dysfunctional fandom that I think ultimately in a big picture sense hurts the game in this country. If you look, I see, okay, more people watch soccer, the game will be available, more channels, MLS can increase its viewership, which means more money to get better players and improve the quality of the league. Okay. Does it matter? It matters to you that MLS is higher quality. You'll stop watching if it doesn't improve its quality.
I'm not
Right?
sure if he's saying that, but
No,
he
but
wants
that's
it to
what.
keep
Okay,
going.
I'm not saying if that's what Luis is saying. I'm asking us. I'm asking us to examine our motivations for why we feel the way we do about these things. I'm asking us to figure out why we need this. Right? I'm asking us as fans because, again, I understand that sports fandom is pain. like I get it. Like, of course. And I don't think you can enjoy the winning and the success unless you have the pain. I think those things have to be in relief. Otherwise, what's the point? Like, if your team wins all the, this is why it's so weird to imagine being a fan of, one of the 2 teams that can win the Scottish Premiership or one of the 2 teams that can win La Liga.
It
Or
only
even-
sets you up for
even-
disappointment because you either things go the way you expect them to, or it's a complete failure.
Yeah, I mean, and look, again, that's a judgment I shouldn't make. I'm sure Barcelona fans love being Barcelona fans, right? I am not okay. Marcus is really going off in the chat. Marcus is not an ultra, and we usually have a rule. Okay, but I'm going to address Marcus because Marcus is directly countering my arguments here. We're in the period of growth. USL wants to get to 3 tiers with ProRel. This was an opportunity to inspire not only fans but investors to push that. There aren't investors right now. We haven't seen an explosion of investment in American soccer, Marcus. That's not happening already. This game, this missed opportunity that you're talking about. 42 million people watched us lose. So what? Now they drift away. We don't have any more soccer. It's over. Close up shop. People aren't investing. Like this imagined result. It's an imagined result. It's magical thinking. It's, if we had won that game, all those 42 million people are now hardcore soccer fans. Okay? Then what? What does that mean? Who does that benefit? Right? I just want us to talk about these things. I'm not saying that you're wrong if you want that. I want you to be honest about why that's important. Because more people make more money? Is that the end game here? Because, again, you imagine, maybe not magical thinking, but pretty close. You imagine that a bigger television number begets more money in the system. That more money begets more academies, more scholarships for pay-to-play kids, more opportunity for kids who wouldn't have access to the game. Again, that's a good in and of itself. If you're going to go 16 steps down from a game having a big television number to that, fine. I might take issue with how long it would take or what that process actually looks like and whether you can be sure those dominoes are going to fall. right? I might take issue with that, but I guess that's an argument. That is one way to think about this. Marcus is also saying that, when the Cowboys lose, people bitch about Jerry Jones having a yacht. Okay. I think that's of a different color. I think that's a different thing. I understand that it feels the same. Like, oh, our owner is not doing the right thing and he's spending money on a yacht instead of helping the Cowboys win football games. It feels the same. But it's not. Again, that's about mismanagement of a team that you don't have to argue about rooting for. Like, you don't have to explain to people why you care about it. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, people go, oh, okay, you're a Dallas Cowboys, and you're upset with Jerry Jones, totally normal. You're a soccer fan in America. Your team loses. You don't talk about Mauricio Pochettino's decisions. You don't talk about whether it was right to hire him in the first place. You don't talk about his substitution patterns. You don't talk about his tactics. You don't talk about anything like that. What you say is our structure is a problem.
Well, I think that's
You're talking about something, reading between, even if it changed, Rob, how long does it take before that has an impact on our national team?
That'd take a considerable amount of time, but probably near generations worth of time. 10 years, absolutely minimum. But at this point, I do want to remind people that we are in a period of unprecedented growth and expansion of the domestic game here. And while obviously winning is fun, winning is a shot in the arm, you're saying it benefits the powers that be, the broadcasters, this, that, and the other. But I think that, more wins generates more excitement. Americans support winners. Winning, translates into attention a lot of times. And so if we are dotting the map, putting stadiums in Fayetteville, in all sorts of random places across the country, isn't having, success part of what might populate those stadiums a little bit more than
of course,
a whimpering loss?
Yes. The idea, again, you are making a logical leap. It's not impossible. And I think logically people just go, oh, if we had won that game, we've got more soccer fans.
Not 100%, but it's more likely.
I know that. I understand what you're saying. I understand that the winning, it creates the possibility, whereas losing, you presume it means nobody cares. But again, I don't even know if I agree with that. Like, I don't even know that.
I mean, that could have inspired a bunch of kids like, hey, let's do better than the ones that preceded us.
But even that is like trying to connect things that aren't like, you're working really hard to make those connections. To me, look, this World Cup is an unqualified success for American soccer. And I don't believe for a second that the U.S. loss completely undermines all of that good thing for American soccer. Like, that to me, that's where people with brains immediately go. They go, we built this thing up. This World Cup has been so incredible and built this thing up. And then the U.S. men's national team laid an egg against Belgium and the bottom falls out and everybody walks away and nobody wants to engage with soccer because of that. And I think you're not giving people enough credit to start with. And I don't think that's how fandom works. I don't think that because they lost a game at the end of a run that galvanized support around this team, that had people excited. Like, again, what kind of fan are you, if I can be judgmental about this, if you walk away from your team every time they let you down? If that's the kind, do we want those kind of, let's do this. Do we want those kind of fans?
Well, I mean, probably not on a long term, but I think that with all the options in the United States, this might be a kind of a different frame to look at it. With the competition for eyeballs that soccer does have, you're more likely to get more eyeballs on it if it's a success. So I know here locally in Detroit, we have the 4 big teams, right? We have NFL, NBA, NHL, and even DCFC and the NBA. But my point is, so all of them are crap, or when they're crap, people fade away and then they go to the other team. Or, one team's more successful and people start paying attention to that. But, the Tigers are crap for 10 years. People, fade away from that. And I think that's the fear, whether that's not the reality, time will tell. But what I think more people engaging with it helps the more growth to it. But I don't think that Monday's loss completely derails that, to your point. But this week, okay, so put on your imaginary caps.
they somehow win that game against Belgium, this week probably would have been the biggest American soccer hype machine week there is. But in a way, it is. Yesterday was more soccer talk on local call-in sports stations than there's probably ever been. Producer Jenny, she works at the Detroit sports talk radio station, and prime segments, morning, afternoon, all of it, they were all taking calls. They were discussing it as topics, just wouldn't have happened before. I'm curious if that would have been the case had they won. Would all of the local stations been hyping it up like that?
Probably, but again, like, this is what sports are. There are no guarantees, right?
No.
So,
well, that's why it's good.
If you are engaging with sports, you either have to make that bargain that you're gonna suffer, or don't do it. Like, don't even bother. Don't even become a fan, because there's no such thing as always winning. There's no such thing as always being on a high. There will be pain. There will be disappointment, right? And this is, again, that thing where we're sort of judging what kind of fans we are by the idea that our country could get more connected to this, right? So, in a general sense, American soccer fans have an inferiority complex about our game, about the culture of our sport here, about the way that, not us individually, because I know I'm a hardcore fan. I really believe I'm really connected. I know everything about the game, and I'm passionate, and I wouldn't walk away from my team if it was difficult. But there's this sense, I think, right, that American soccer fans aren't on the same level of passion as Italian soccer fans, as French soccer fans, as English soccer fans, right? And so we're trying to live up to that idea, because we interact with these people, particularly the English, right? The world has gotten smaller. The internet allows us to interact. I mean, my social media feeds are full of English people. It's full of English people. And I like most of them, and they will take their shots. They will revel in American failure. Why? I mean, that's for them to figure out, I guess. But I understand it. Like, there's this sense. I mean, in this particular case, it's about the Balogun red card, right? Like, Canadians are really over the moon that we laid an egg against Belgium. They are so ecstatic that we messed that up, so that they can lord it over us. That, hey, you guys, not only did you lose, you cheated, and you're arrogant Americans, right? This is the other thing about the World Cup being connected to nationalism and national identity and all that, which is also a fascinating conversation, right? But this is the thing. Again, we are always like, we want to be the kind of fans that the rest of the world looks at and goes, oh yeah, respect their fandom and their passion, right? Because that's part of this. That's part of what sports is. It's not just supporting my team and caring about my team and following the fortunes of my team. It's also engaging in the wider culture of sports fandom and soccer fandom. And so
they wanted to be able to hold their head high when they get in those like Twitter battles and stuff like that.
We want people to respect. Everybody wants to be respected in every walk of life. But when it went through the prism of soccer, we want the respect of the world. We want soccer fans in other places to respect us. We want the coaches and the players to respect us. Right? We want, and again, I talked about how personal it is that we lost that game the way we lost it. And if we had fought and lost 3-2, and it looked like something like Cabo Verde did against Argentina, we would still be disappointed, and there would still be the Inquisition, but it would be of a different kind, like a different tone to the Inquisition. It would be like, oh, we played our asses off and got beat. Why can't we get over the hump against a team like Belgium? In this case, they embarrassed us, and we take that personally. And again, I think that this John Hunt's talking about, there's a whole conversation. Thank you very much, guys. You're incredible. But John Hunt, American fans are not used to being the outsider or the underdog. It's another part of this, another major element in how we engage with this sport. We don't have to think about being the best in American football. Not just because we are, because nobody else really cares. It's not really even a question. We don't really have to think about it in baseball, although we don't win the World Baseball Classic on the regular. Because whatever, it's our national pastime. We created it. All these other countries want to play it. Fine, whatever. It's not the culture of our other sports doesn't really have this element. It can for hockey at the Olympic level a little bit. And we saw it this past year with the Olympic hockey golds. But that is also, it is kind of that, I guess. I guess it is. I guess that's about as close as we get, Olympic hockey. But this idea that, but really, they're two top hockey nations, and everybody else is kind of fighting for third and fourth place.
Yeah,
When
I
it
mean,
comes-
Russia wasn't invited, so I don't know if that was
right, exactly. Who knows how I have no idea how good Russia is, but in soccer, in that way, again, this national character connected to the team, meaning it's a reflection of us and our ability to play this sport. In a sport we know we're not the best and not even close to the best. And where else do Americans have to wrestle with that idea that we're not the best at something, especially through sports? Like, even when we get to the Olympics and people are watching sports they never cared about, we still win enough medals to be like, yeah, we're the best. I don't know anything about bobsledding, but go bobsledders or whatever it is.
Has American basketball recovered from the national team losing in basketball like 20 years ago?
Well, what did we do? What did we do with that, right? We pushed that to the side and went, oh, we don't really care. Like, it's not that important to us that our national basketball team win things because we already know we're the best and we created this league and the league is here, right? Like, I think there is actually a little bit of this in English football. This is why so much of English football is club over country, because why engage with it if they're going to disappoint you? And we can't say we're the best in the sport we created. I think English people struggle with that, just like Americans struggle with.
Yeah, they'll
with
say
other
that they
things.
don't care about the national team until the tournament happens, and then they lose, and they're like, sod off. We didn't like them anyway.
Exactly. They're creating space to protect themselves emotionally from the failure of the English national team. And if they win, we'll see how they respond, right? They do have a shot. This is a sport where we know we're not the best, where we're desperate to prove ourselves, because if you are engaged in the world, it's impossible to deny the power of this game. And once you do fall in love with this game, you know, I'm not huge on soccer exceptionalism as like this is the best game we've ever created. I was watching some of Ken Burn's baseball yesterday as just a palate cleanser, and it's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. And like within the first half hour, there's one of these writers saying, "This is the best game humanity has ever created." And I'm sitting there going, I grew up obsessed with baseball, and I'm like, I don't think that's true, dude. Like, I respect your opinion about it, and that's how you feel about baseball. And I might have felt that way too when I was 12 years old. But guess what? I don't think it's true anymore. I don't know that I want to think of soccer as exceptional in that way, because I think I'd be doing the same thing that guy did about baseball. But once you fall in love with this sport and you see what it is, it's really hard not to become desperately obsessed with it. And if you care about the national team while you're desperately obsessed with the sport, it is a reflection of you. Right? It's impossible not to feel like you need to be validated by the success of your national team. That's where we're at.
I guess I feel like a little bit removed from that because I don't necessarily feel that like my identity is attached to the wins and losses, but with success and what we're doing here, the dot in the map, I've longed because when I was very young in my youth in England, living in a place where the game that I love surrounds you and you're within it. It is a thing that is living and it is a piece of the culture and the region. And so there is a hope that, you know, a win here, a win there, you know, makes that possibility that we can live and be surrounded by the game as a possibility is how I would.
Yeah. Look, if you are somebody who just wants more people to share soccer with, everything we talked about is valid. Like everything about like, oh, the national team can help grow the game and they didn't win and that hurts that process. Again, you make that argument, I'm going to be receptive. I'm going to say, I got you. I understand. But I just think that again, American soccer fans struggle with seeing themselves clearly. And I'm included in that. That's why I write about this and talk about it so goddamn much, because I know that I'm overly invested in my national team winning beyond normal sports fandom. But beyond just wanting my team to win because it's fun to win and because it's fun to celebrate that stuff. Right? The way that you know, all these teams at this tournament have been celebrating their success. And I guess I do wish for us, and I don't know it's going to happen because, again, we're too American, some of us. Rob's a little less American than the rest of us. You're a little English too, you know?
Yeah, I'm only half. You're just half. You're just half.
Nah, you know what I mean, though, in terms of your mentality. Like you just said it. You don't feel like your identity as a soccer person is attached to the U.S. men's national team. That's a healthier relationship. That is a healthy relationship.
I root for them winning, but, you know, it's a 50-50.
You don't take it personal.
Chance of losing.
You're not taking it personal. You're not like, it's not like you failed. But I think that that's the thing. We internalize this. The U.S. men's national team losing against Belgium, playing that way, we internalize it. Now it's not just their failure, it's our failure. They did it to us. They pulled us in. It's like when your family member does something really terrible and you're like, I didn't do it, but now I'm caught up in this. It's guilt by association kind of stuff, right? That hurts and that sucks because you don't have control. So what do? We go diving into the intricacies of the game and how it works in this country. And I wish for us, even though I know I'm not capable, even though I know most of U.S. men's national team fans are not capable, certainly online ones are not capable of this. I wish for us the ability to celebrate anything that looks like success in a tournament like this, a tournament that comes every 4 years. It's not every season. There's not a World Cup every year. It only comes every 4 years. It involves a hell of a lot of talented teams that really want to win this World Cup. It involves the capricious, luck-based nature of a sport where one or two goals change the entire complexion of the game. One or two calls change the entire complexion of the game. One or two decisions by a coach change the entire complexion of the game. Like, to put all of your eggs in that basket is only going to lead to pain. And I wish we were in a better place to say, screw it, I'm happy with the run we had because we had so many good times before the ultimate failure. I don't want us to let that failure wipe out all the fun we had. And I think that's where a lot of people are right now.
All right, so correct me or tell me if I'm leading us in the wrong direction. But with that said, what can we reflect on the positives of this run? Like I said, we're 26 days in, or the United States men's national team, stayed in the competition for over 3 weeks. And I got to say, if I'm going to pick out a silver lining, I'll never forget the Gio Reyna goal against Paraguay in that opening night.
Sure.
I think that opening night, obviously that was step one, and they needed that big first game and that first win to get the nation on board, and they did that. Check mark on that. Obviously, this latter part that happened this week, that's a box unchecked. But I watched that end of that game. I was by myself, and seeing Gio Reyna outside of the foot finish to make it 4-1, I just not reactively just put my arm in the air like this, just seeing it. And that's something that I'll never forget. I wasn't in a crowd. I was by myself, and I'll never just my arm just went in the sky, just seeing that. And then my other takeaway is the rise of Malik Tillman. He was fantastic. I can't remember too many situations where he put a foot wrong. And obviously he had that 2 free kick goals to his name.
Yeah. Look, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good here in our experience at the World Cup, right? Chris saying, inspired for 4 matches, disappointed for 1, right? Bosnia win needs to not be overlooked. Don't diminish what this was, because not only does that hurt your ability to enjoy what it was, which is what's the point of sports if we're not going to let ourselves be happy when there is success. I know it's a recency bias. I know it's a stage bias, right? The round of 16 more important than the group stage games. I get that. But don't diminish your own enjoyment. That seems insane to me. Why would you choose to actively make yourself mad when you could at least look? This is not to say don't analyze it. Don't be critical of the things that need to be criticized, or not to think about getting better. Of course, we need to think about getting better. I want us to win, and that's going to require getting better. But I'm not going to let myself be dragged down into a pit of despair over something that, look, again, was disappointing, but isn't the totality of the experience. That's where I'm at with this. Paraguay went home, despite France saying they played like absolute heathens. Proud of what they did at this World Cup, right? They whatever France had to say, and there's some elected officials in Paraguay who need to shut their mouth. But other than that, the Paraguayan people can be thrilled about what their team did. And I know, but that's the thing. What Americans do is go, well, we should be better than Paraguay. Why? Why should we be better than Paraguay? We assume we should be better than Paraguay because we're a bigger country? Just because we're a bigger country. For no other reason. Right? Maybe we have more resources. Maybe we have better infrastructure in places. But that's not how this works. You cannot add those things up and then get a sum and say, that's the champion. No, that's not how it works. It takes a lot of other things to get to that point. And we just don't have that cultural push yet. And maybe we won't. And I don't know. I don't know what that means for where we are in terms of the world's hierarchies of footballing nations, Rob.
Yeah, taking a couple generations off of the sport has definitely set us back, and I don't know if there is a catching up to your point, but it'll be interesting to see where we go from here, and if we see any sort of World Cup bump when the domestic leagues kick off and or MLS comes back, and then obviously USL has been going this whole time, but I don't know. I guess I've summed it up. I guess it's just unfortunate the way they went out, but
Yes.
you can't remove the good stuff that happened. And you made me want to look up what Paraguayan officials were saying there. That sounds kind of spicy. But I also wanted to say, can we just remove the population should equal success argument? Because I mean, that I don't know if that's ever had an impact on the results, because Croatia, not very big. Uruguay, not very big. And we're one of the biggest countries in the world. Like India has literal billions of people. And they're not winning World Cups or anything like that.
China and India cannot get their act together to put together, 25 men to make the World Cup. It tells you a lot about, and it's not like China's not trying. I know China focused a lot on individual sports because those are easier to control the variables, but it's not like they're not trying. It's not like they don't want to, right? We then again get into this arrogant space. Oh, but we're America. We're better at these things. And it's like you're not bestowed a right. Your population does not gift you a right to be good at this sport. There's a lot of things that go into it. Again, none of my words today are meant to say we should be complacent. Not a single one of those words was in the service of we should just keep doing what we're doing. The point is we shouldn't let this one failure in a 90-minute soccer match upend our feelings about where soccer has come and where it's going. That's all. I do want to throw in one more thing because Kate had a very good thought experiment, Rob, which was like
the comment about Brazil.
No, she said something like, "Would you rather have that happen the way that it like, okay, here it is. Is it better to get blown out the way the United States did against Belgium, or to lose on a last-second goal? So, would you rather be the United States or Egypt today?"
Oh boy, Egypt folks are probably feeling a certain way today, and I think that being undone by like a VAR thing or having rules or referees be into the mix would be a more uncomfortable position. We know where we're at now. We, bad game, got our ass kicked, we're out. But if it was like we would have won had the referees not done a thing, that feels. I wouldn't want to be sitting here with that conversation.
Yeah,
we would have won, but the VAR took our goal away. Like there's literally a ghost goal. Oh yeah, 12 years ago, or was it 2010 or 2014 when the Moadu goal just like was ruled out for no reason?
Yeah,
I'm glad we're not there. That was not a fun place to be because we lost for an unknown or an unexplained reason. I don't know if they ever really came out with an official ruling on why that goal didn't count. But like losing, I guess mounting some sort of a comeback would have made me feel a little bit better, but I definitely wouldn't want it to be VAR. And then losing on a penalty or a last gasp, that would be a different kind of hurt for sure.
It would be a different kind of hurt. And that's the thing. Like it's really weird. It's like, hey, would I rather eat shit or gravel? Neither one of those things, please.
Which one's washes out of your mouth quicker there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I understand it's a very weird thing to like. What do I want to have? Do I want to be sad? Because I was sad from minute 2. I wasn't even like. There were a couple of like angry moments. Hey, play the pass, make the run, and because I had my son there, I wasn't trying to be crazy. But it was mostly just the pall, that was cast over me as I watched the United States absolutely bumble away that game. And I imagine if it was an Egypt situation, how white hot with rage I would be today, like just out of my mind,
apoplectic
with anger, and in a way that was like see, the thing about the way the U.S. lost, Rob, is like it's like, yeah, we missed our chance, but clearly we were not, as you said, we're not that we're not the level talent wise, we're not the level mentality wise, or whatever. Like you kind of get to put this in okay, we weren't ready, and it sucks, and I hate it. But it doesn't feel like we were so close and it was stolen from us. That's a different feeling. right? That's such a, and I think if you zoom out and you really kind of give yourself the space to imagine the totality of your fan experience, which I described as pain and joy have to be in relief. Otherwise, what's the joy will never feel all that joyful if you don't have the pain, right? So in that sense, if you zoom out, the Egypt experience would probably be better, better in scare quotes. But man, that's got to suck right now.
Yes, so instead of the local talk radio and all the pundits, shitting on the United States and all the system, the pay to play for all that, there'd be outrage against FIFA and VAR and refereeing and all that. Maybe that galvanizes people. People get bonded by shared outrage. And so that's why the whole Balogun thing on Monday, I kind of had that thought of what does that do with the psychology? Because I thought that had they felt, because going into before the whole overturn or suspended of the suspension before Sunday, the United States were victims of injustice of the red card that nobody thought was legit. And so we had a psychological edge of trying to overcome that obstacle. And if we lost without Balogun, we'd be like, F that referee for giving the red card. Maybe we lost because we were missing our weapon, but now we lost that injustice, and we're kind of maybe celebrating a bit early with having the return to Balogun, and then overlooking the fact that the opponents, Belgium, that added a lot of fuel to the fire. This is not a Belgium team that was especially cohesive or bonded and all that. Obviously, they have players playing in big teams all over the world, so they have top players, which couldn't or shouldn't be ignored. But it kind of, on a psychology level, in the individual game, I think our edge was stifled by outside influence, and we gave them bulletin board material, which kind of
these games aren't played in sterile environments. They're not played in a vacuum. They're played with the emotion. I mean, that was on display with Argentina's win over Egypt, right? The emotions had a major role to play in that game. I watched Mexico go toe-to-toe with England at the Azteca. I'm no disrespect to our Mexican friends, and I was rooting for them, but they have no business going toe-to-toe with England on talent alone. Like, if you just look at the talent on the team across the 11 that were on the field at any given moment, oh my God, England blows them out of the water. But Mexico's in that game.
Yeah, so is there conversations in Mexico going, hey, our team is pretty solid and strong, but we're missing some creativity, which in my mind has always been kind of Mexico's, missing piece is their creativity. And they had a long time where England wasn't even trying to attack, and they couldn't come up with anything creative.
Well, I mean, you want an examination. I mean, not being inside of it and being outside, having watched it for years and years and years, the end of that game where Mexico was just firing in cross after cross with Dan Burn on the field and it was like, what are they doing? That's Mexican football. When they are chasing the game at the end of a match, they have no other idea except to whip in crosses. They can ping the ball around the back and they can whip in a cross, and that's it. And, if you want to treat Mexican football, and I don't know if there are fans down there or Mexican Americans who are watching that team play, who are doing the same thing we're doing now, which is examining they always are, because Mexico's got some dysfunction, obvious dysfunction in their system. And honestly, if you want to make yourself feel slightly better about the state of the U.S. men's national team, the state of men's soccer in America, just think about how underwhelming and underperforming is the Mexican national team relative to the passion and the players that they have in that country, the amount of effort they put into this sport. They are probably the most underachieving national team on the planet relative to population. If we're going to use that, relative to passion, relative to league strength, they are nowhere near where they should be. And they went out the same stage of the United States against an admittedly more respected opponent, a higher rated opponent, and they're thrilled. They're thrilled about the World Cup. Disappointed. I'm sure some people are angry. I'm not going to paint with totally a broad brush. But if you check in, generally speaking, they are very, very optimistic about the future of Mexican football after the run they just had at the World Cup. And again, what is the fundamental difference between their run and ours? They didn't give up any goals until England. Okay, right? It's so interesting how just a little bit of a different perspective changes how you feel about your World Cup.
Yeah, I'm curious, kind of what are like those big things in Mexican soccer that people point at in these situations? Like we're talking about our play to play and our lack of pro rel and all that. The Mexicans say, hey, we're playing in CONCACAF. We need to go to Common Bowl. Or are they saying, oh, we need pro rel back in our system? I'm curious what their like hot button topics are there. Because obviously you mentioned there's dysfunction and they've got their own things going on.
I'm sure if you dig just a little bit on the internet, check out the U.S. men's national team subreddit or whatever, you'll find that, hey, we got to get to Common Bowl. And I'm very sympathetic to the idea that we have a problem with the competition for the U.S. men's national team when camps are called, right? We've got to be in Copa America every single time. And thankfully, we make Common Bowl a ton of money, so probably we will be in Copa America on a regular basis. That's that in the World Cup, right? Obviously, you got to qualify it. I'm not taking that for granted. It's obviously didn't work in 2018. But you're not going to get yourself tested against the top 10 teams in the world outside of Common Bowl, outside of maybe playing Argentina and Brazil. That's it. There's no, you're not going to get dates. Very rarely, you might occasionally. You're not going to get dates against the European powers because they're playing Nations League or doing other things. And that has created a situation as we analyze where this World Cup is, Rob, and I know we're at at the end of the show. There are how many? Six UEFA teams in the World Cup for quarterfinals? One Common Bowl and one from Africa. I think so.
Let's just look at the quarterfinals. Start tomorrow. France, Morocco, Spain, Belgium. So that's 3. Norway, England. That's 5. Argentina, Switzerland. 6.
6 European teams in the quarterfinals of the World Cup, right? One is the defending champion, and one of them that's not is the defending champion, Argentina. And then the other one is Morocco, who, this is not, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Morocco, because if we could do the same thing and build a quarterfinal team at the World Cup, I'd be happy to do it. But their players come from France and the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where their players come from. They come from France and the Netherlands, and you've got Brahim Diaz, who plays at Real Madrid and is Spanish. And Moroccan, obviously. Right? So you're essentially talking about 7 European teams, just in terms of the makeup and the culture of those teams. 7 European teams. And I know Morocco doesn't play in UEFA, so that maybe is a little bit of you have to leave them out anyway. But 6 teams coming from UEFA speaks to the fact that UEFA's strength in the game is not diminished. There are no challengers from elsewhere outside of Argentina right now because Brazil's in a state and the rest of Common Bowl is not at the level. So it's Argentina and Europe. That's it right now. And that's because everything is concentrated money-wise, club-wise, all that focus is on Europe. How does the United States men's national team, Mexico, any other African nation, any of the Asian countries, Japan, who has a very good team, how do they overcome that? How do they get to that next level? And I don't have the answers. I'm not saying I do. It's just a pondering.
Yeah, another pondering and another thought that I had in this whole breakdown, and just how the American fans were talking about their own team, and then the run up to Belgium that, they aren't what they used to be and all that. But like, yes, we do have a handful of players playing in those top leagues in Europe, but literally every single one of those European teams are stacked from the first player to the 26th player are playing in those teams in Europe. So there's a lot of different levels there. And I've said it multiple times. It must just be exactly how I'm feeling. It's all Monday was unfortunate, but not the death knell to this wonderful moment in American soccer that we're experiencing.
And I do think there will be new fans. Maybe some were like, they stink. I don't care about this sport anymore. We're still going to grow. Soccer's still going to grow. So if that's what you want to see, don't be discouraged. Soccer's on an incredible run right now.
All right, guys, that brings us to the end of Wednesday's edition of Morning Kick-Around. Thank you for being with us. Great conversation here in the chat. Kind of a free-for-all due to the situation that the United States is out of the World Cup. I was going to say, this is the first day in a month without a World Cup game. Let's enjoy some outside. Let's touch some grass, as the kids say. Let's try to take a big deep breath.
I'm going to try to ship some jerseys today, Rob. That's what I'm going to try to do. I right after we get done, because there's not enough time in the day to do all this stuff.
Yeah, they should add like a couple more days to the week out there. I mean, who's on that? FIFA, add some more days to the week.
4-day work week. Let's go. Let's be French. Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll be back on Friday morning. And until then, be safe, be brave, and at least tomorrow, enjoy your soccer. Take